Welcome everybody to is this the third?
This is the third, number
The
three.
third
Yeah.
Adaptability in Education Leadership panel. Sean and I are so excited to be working on this project together over the last couple of months because if you haven't, I think we have a lot of new faces here today, so I'll just give, like, if I can, a 30-second backstory for people who are joining us for the first time or are not really familiar with what we've been doing. But back in the fall last year, we were chatting a lot, Sean and I, about just all the waves of change that we are facing constantly in education from all angles, and how, as we sort of march together into the age of AI, we really need to be prepared for the change to never really stop. And so that led us to really thinking about leadership and how, we see so many, webinars, events, even endless, I'm missing the word here, and endless sessions at conferences that are geared towards different facets of using AI and not being afraid of AI. So, a lot of these things are geared towards classroom teachers. And we started to think, like, what's going on in the heads and the hearts and the minds of the people in leadership positions that have to kind of face all of this change along with everybody, and how are we dealing with it and what's going on. And so that led us to think about, let's not just give people information, but how can we gather a lot of voices together in conversation, not only about AI, that happens to be what tonight's panel is about, but just about what it's like to be in those roles, in a time where we need to be adaptable and we need to work together more than ever. So we decided to just come up with a title and say, let's make a series of initial panels and invite people to present, invite people to have conversations with us. We're not giving you screens and screens of information. And, in the same idea that a webinar might be, but we are talking to each other as educators and humans that are really facing a lot of these things together. And so that's a little bit of the backstory. That was way more than 30 seconds. I'm not sure how great I retold it, but that's where it came from. And so that leads us to where we are today. And another thing I love about these panels is that pretty much everyone that is involved in them in some way has been either recommended or like cheered on or championed by another panelist. So everybody has kind of pulled somebody in and said, oh, you should talk to her, or he would be awesome to lead something about this, or I know we could make a good group of these three. And so I love that whole feel of everybody coming together and wanting to create almost like a unique PD experience for geared towards school leaders. Anything you would add, Sean?
Ditto to everything. This is, one just excited to be here with everyone here and to be able to kind of take a deeper dive. I always kind of envision this panel as like the informal huddle or conversation after a keynote or after a conference, or after a faculty meeting, right? Where sometimes, because of time, because of the framework of the room or what have you, you might not normally have that engagement. Well, here is where we are able to engage in what we both hope is a place of warmth, safety, insight, and conversation on adaptability and leadership, and how in this kind of shifting framework of everything. Like, a year ago, we probably, most of us, me included, were not thinking about AI. I probably knew it as an maybe that was the name of something in a film or a science fiction or what have you. Or I may have read about it, but we're here in it now, and it's not changing and it's not going anywhere. And with leaders, to have the opportunity to kind of take a deeper dive where you might not normally have that due to schedule and things, but then also to kind of face together with a wonderful panel and wonderful attendees here on some compelling topics and much needed discussion that we do need in in our space.
So let's get started. Just really quickly, I am Sarah Candela. If you do not know me, we do have a lot of new faces here. I am the community manager for Swivel, and I tried to put together a lot of interesting digital events like this one, and amongst a million other things that I attempt to do weekly. But I was a what was I? I was a high school English teacher in New York for 15 years before I left the classroom to pursue alternate ways to work with teachers and students that were kind of undiscovered to me at that time. And this is where I've ended up. And I've landed in a space where I get to really come together in like a completely different ways than I would have ever thought with people that I would have never met. And this is a really just amazing place to be able to connect with people on a level that is, I think, sort of special. So I think Sean would probably agree with that too. You want to introduce yourself, Sean?
I would. Thank you, Sarah. Sean Gaylord. I'm just a friend of Sarah's, but also a willing participant in the panel and your co-host. And I high school English teacher by trade, school principal, current gig, and happy to be here to talk about ideas and to raise questions and to learn with each and every one of you. So thanks for having me here with you, Sarah, as your co-pilot and co-host, and grateful to be in the conversation with our wonderful panel. We're so grateful to have three really unique and compelling voices in the space of adaptability and education leadership among other things. So shall we welcome and introduce our guest, Sarah?
Let's do that. If I can stop. Did my screen stop sharing?
It did.
Did. Okay, that's totally fine because we
We'll
have,
adapt.
yeah, we have the, no, I did that. I was doing it on purpose, but it wasn't showing that it did it on my end. So I was just making sure because we have them in the room. So we don't need to stare at a photo of them for too much longer because they are all right here. So we have three wonderful panelists with us today. And one of the things that I do love about putting together these panels is the wide spectrum of expertise that we get to bring in together in one room. And I think that is the spirit of what Sean and I were trying to do at the beginning. It was like, let's get everybody together from all walks of education. And that's what you're going to see an example of here tonight. So we'll do just a quick little intro of each panelist, and then the format of this is we have a few pre-planned questions, but we'll start by asking one or two of them, and then we can kind of go around the room and panelists can contribute to the discussion. And then if we go off topic, we adapt and we have conversation. We can feed off of one another. And if anybody has questions or wants to kind of comment or contribute to anything that we are discussing, feel free to drop it in the chat. Sometimes, depending on the volume of questions or comments, we'll address them along the way. If it's a lot, we'll wait till the end, but totally feel free to participate because we consider anyone that comes into this room as an audience member to really be a participant in this discussion. The panelists and us, we're kind of just driving it, but you're part of this room and conversation as well. So with that being said, I would like to introduce, let's see, where's my list here? Okay, I would like to introduce Dr. Michelle Ament. She is the Chief Academic Officer for ProSolve, and she is focused on learning experiences as a way to build human intelligence in a world focused on artificial intelligence. And one of the reasons why I sort of latched onto Michelle when I like to say I discovered her last summer or so is because she was talking about human intelligence and artificial intelligence in a way that I hadn't really seen a lot of people chatting about so often. And she was really prolific in the way she talked about it. Not just on Twitter, but on LinkedIn, just across all platforms. And I found it difficult to not engage in conversation with her. And I reached out to her and said, "Hey, I need to have you on the podcast that I run, The Optimalist." And we kind of hit it off from there. And then it's just really great to see her conversations kind of folding into other people's podcasts as well, as you'll see. And I'm just really glad to have Michelle here. Hi, Michelle.
Thanks, Sarah. It's great to be here. Thanks, Sean, for having me.
You want to take the next one, Sean?
Sure. Grateful to have with us Natasha Nurse. Natasha is based in Strong Island or Long Island, and she is a STEM educator and mentor coordinator. She is also an administrator in training, and we'll probably touch on that as well. And really grateful to have her spirit, her energy, and her passion for kids. And I'm just so excited to have you here, Tasha. So welcome to the panel.
It is such an honor to be with all of these amazing people. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Sean.
And lastly, we have Fonz Mendoza. Welcome, Fonz, who's straight from, he's calling in from TCA tonight. So we really appreciate him taking time out of what has probably been a busy, really busy, full few days. So it's really exciting to have you there here tonight. Fonz is a professional learning specialist with a background in educational technology and AI in education. He's also a pretty well-known podcaster in the ed tech space. So if you don't know, you should check out his show, the My EdTech Life podcast. Through that platform, he's interviewed so many AI ed tech startup founders, practitioners, and thought leaders. And those insights are, I think, really unique and valuable. And we're really glad that he can sort of share what he's been learning from not only his own expertise, but being able to talk to so many others who are working in the field today through the medium of that podcast. So welcome, Fonz.
Hey, everybody. Thankful to be here. Like I said, with TCA, jam-packed day, jam-packed week, but it's been great and looking forward to hopefully be able to share what has been resonating and what educators right now are currently talking, because I know it's definitely something that it's not just here in Texas, but it's affecting educators nationwide. So thank you so much for these conversations. And definitely I love the adaptability component of it, as my 3 favorite words is art, improvise, adapt, and overcome. So thank you for this conversation.
See, and I didn't even know that. And it's like you're meant to be here. Thanks. So I just put a hashtag in the chat for anybody that is active on social media while we're having this conversation. If you wanted to tweet anything that we talk about, or quotes or ideas or comments, we're using the tag Adapt, Lead, Connect for all of the panels in the series. So that would be really welcome and exciting if anybody was live tweeting or live chatting during the show, as Sean would say. And I think we're ready to go. It's a long intro to get started. So I'm going to start us off. And Fonz, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you, and we can kind of go around, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so I have a lot more questions here than I even remembered preparing. That's how prepared I am. So as we prepare, we're going to start thinking about future ready skills. That's where we're going to start. So as we're preparing students for what we're now calling an AI-driven future, what future ready skills do you believe are most crucial for students to develop? And how can leaders help to actively foster the acquisition of those skills, let's say?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I always love to tell educators is really the work that they're currently doing is going to be helping our students right now, but it's just a gentle shift and a gentle approach now to adding more to that digital component. So my message to the teachers has always been, it's like, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with what is happening. We're going to adapt to this, but it'll be just an incremental shift, and it's a mind shift that really what you are already doing as far as building up the collaboration skills, the creativity, and all of that. What we're going to do is just take that and take it into that digital aspect now with the digital literacy, that media literacy, digital literacy tied together. It's not going to be anything new. It's just that shift again to, better prepare our students. But again, the talk here is go tech, 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 all the way, tech, tech, tech. And I think a lot of educators are very fearful of that because now they feel overwhelmed. So my shift is a little different, and maybe kind of a little bit with Michelle. I know Michelle was on my show, and that kind of helped me also with that mind shift as well, to really try and humanize that learning and human connection. And one of the things that I've seen is that is still a very important role and a key in education. But again, it's that mindset shift and just taking it slow and being a cautious advocate of that technology and a cautious advocate of AI within the curriculum. So again, the same thing that we're doing, creativity, collaboration, communication, all of those skills are going to play into the present of learning as they have, but also leading into the future as you include some of the tech that is involved as the year progresses and as the years progress. But simple mind shift, that's all we need to do. And again, because my philosophy is always keep it simple and streamlined. That has been kind of my message to my teachers and the message that I've been sharing here at the conference as well.
How about, I love the message of simplicity, and I'm thinking, how about Natasha? Do you have anything you'd like to add or comment to that?
Yeah, it's, I have to add on to what Alfonso was saying. It's really about exploration and hands-on experience with AI technologies. And I think, leaders have this huge opportunity to really put a gift into teachers' hands. And that's really getting them to think outside the box and take a risk. And it's these small steps that Alfonso was talking about, and the simplicity to it, to really get teachers feeling comfortable. Leaders play that important, that critical role, because what we're ultimately looking for when it comes to future ready skills, we're looking for critical thinking. We're looking for problem solvers and problem solving. We're looking for adaptability. And I think it starts with leadership. And that's why I'm excited to be a part of this panel, because we're really looking at how we can equip leaders in a way where they can help their team and move them forward when it comes to AI.
Michelle?
Well, I agree with what Fonz and Natasha said 100%. Keeping it simple, really, it's a time to really begin to reimagine what the classroom experience is for students and for teachers. So I think really starting with the opportunity we no longer need to have our sights set on standardizing learning and imparting knowledge and ensuring that students leave our K-12 system with all of this information and these boxes checked, where rather we can focus on developing those human-centered skills, as we call at ProSolve our human intelligence. And that really is what both of you already said. It's critical thinking and problem solving. It's communication and collaboration, which really feeds into relationship skills and negotiation skills and empathy building and ability to work as a team. And then I think there's a new set of competencies that have been under discussed. That's not a right word. Have been underutilized, or we haven't really been talking about, which is this idea of adaptability and resilience and continuous learning. They kind of all fit in a bucket for me, because as AI continues to evolve and information becomes accessible and ubiquitous, there's this need to be adaptable in change and be able to continuously learn new skills, new information, and know how to be innovative with that. And I think that's probably a new category of future ready skills that we need to be doubling down and focusing on a little bit more in our schools. And I think the way leaders support it is really starting to kind of give teachers the freedom and the autonomy to begin to reimagine the classroom experience. Because I do, like I said, I feel strongly that our entire system has to start to shift from being the standardized accountability measures to being more of a competency-based system, which does support what you said, Natasha, around hands-on experiential learning. That, it's a matter of measuring those learning experiences rather than the knowledge that you obtained. It's the process of learning versus the output or the product.
One of the things that
Did you just quote me, Fonz? Like,
No, I was about to type that in and you said it and I was like, oh my gosh, we're like on the same wavelength. Seriously, that is amazing.
That is because I looked at the timestamp and I looked at the clock and I was like, there's no way you could have quoted me. So simultaneously, we're both talking about the process of learning, a focus on the process of learning versus the product. That shows how great of a panel you've got here, Sean.
hey,
We're just all synced up.
it is a nod to synchronicity by the Police. I'm talking about their 1983 final album Together, because that's literally what just happened. Synchronicity. And for all you music fans out there, and kind of where I want to kind of take this is I'm hearing and listening and just swimming in the marrow of this goodness of this moment right now with this excellent panel is Miles Davis, the great jazz trumpeter and innovator himself, is responsible for one of my favorite quotes, and the quote goes like this: "Do not fear mistakes. There aren't any." And when Miles Davis would play in concert, if someone in the band, because they did a lot of improv and there's a lot of risk taking and adaptability in performing and playing jazz music, if someone made a mistake, Miles would play the mistake like it was meant to be all along. And Michelle and Tasha and Fonz, you all touched upon in some way kind of the general layer of adaptability. And even Michelle, to your point, like there's another kind of bubbling under future ready skill for leaders to tap into. So, taking a page from Miles Davis, taking a page from that example, and with all of the fear of the unknown that is out there when it comes to AI, there may be leaders out here who are tuning in and watching this recording who are, whoa, one more thing, or oh my gosh, they're going to plagiarize everything, or how will I know, and we're drafting policies and we're trying to get through that. So perhaps some advice from the panelists of how leaders can channel their inner Miles Davis in this realm of AI, and maybe drill down to an example or some advice or a pivot that a leader can make in this realm of AI and play the mistake as it was meant to be all along. And Fonz, I'll start with you because you already dropped the mic earlier because you got the mic, you haven't dropped it, but you did mention you play multiple saxophones, bass drums, guitars. So I know you're vibing on my Miles Davis.
Yeah, actually, I picked up on that, and I was like, education really is like jazz. It's improvisational, and I think oftentimes we're so caught up in the moment that we think that education is just a straight line, and like Michelle was mentioning, and and everybody were talking about that standardization where it's going to be the same thing, like maybe a 4/4 key, 4 beats every measure, and now you're going to bring in different keys, different time changes, different notes, and then just modulations throughout. And that's the way that I think our leaders really need to open up and expand. I know that it may not be very easy, but it's that mind shift from the top down. But one of the things that I also want to include is that, like you mentioned, every tool or every like tech tool out there, like AI, should also be treated like an instrument. It's something that you're not going to learn right away. It's something that either as a leader and as an educator, you have to see this as an instrument, where a tool Like, for example, you take a hammer, you're going to use that hammer that one time to hit that nail, and you're going to hang that frame. But an instrument is like you're picking up a guitar, and nobody's going to learn Stairway to Heaven right off the bat. You're going to pick up that guitar, you're going to learn your notes, you're going to learn the strings, you're going to learn chords, you're going to learn progressions, and then you're building on those little tech calluses, or those calluses that you're building to build beautiful melodies that now you can take and share those melodies with everybody from the top down. And that's including parents as well. That's including every stakeholder, because I think that's where the conversation needs to happen, where that modulation, where that orchestra comes in, where you're putting everybody and you're just, it becomes synchronized, but a beautiful melody altogether. And that's why it's important that we have those conversations, and you're including every single portion, from student to parent to teachers to superintendents, board members, and everything, because it needs to happen that you're all on the same page. Because you mentioned, it's all about policing, and you want to do policies, and many times it's one person that's dictating those policies, rather than say, yeah, you're the band leader, but why not see yourself as the conductor, where you're moving all the pieces together, and maybe these pieces are moving a little bit slower. Now you've got some beautiful build-ups, beautiful melodies, but at the end, it's just one beautiful song. And that's what we need to see education as. We need to stop seeing it in that standardized form. And this conversation, as far as AI, can definitely help change that and really redefine how we see education, and how educators can now feel that they can take those risks too as well, and really just get back to those basics of really being those learning engineers, as opposed to being those information disseminators where they're just giving worksheets or giving the same things and so on. And now is the time where we can make some of those changes. So I'm sorry, I really got really excited with that.
No, man, you're riffing. That's what this is what a band does, right? We riff and then we lay out. So no, beautifully stated. Tasha, your thought or thoughts?
Yeah, let's talk about resistance to change. I think we know that there are issues with privacy and equity. We know that, some educators and leaders are used to doing what they know to do. And I think once we, are open and transparent about that resistance, then I think we can take those small steps. And I think it's about celebrating experimentation. And I think it's about what you said, Sean, risk taking. If you're going to have all those instruments come together, like Alfonso so beautifully just said, everybody has to have a chance to experience what mistakes are or failures are. There's no way you're going to get better or you're going to improve unless you give each individual person a chance to risk take, mess up, clean it up, and get better. And that's what it's all about. I always talk to my colleagues and I said, we are in the era of when there were horseless carriages and then there were the horses. And you had a school of people who said, you know what? I'm going to stick with my horse and my carriage. And then another group or school of people who said, I'm going to try out the newfangled car and I'm going to see what this is all about. We're in 2024. So leaders have the opportunity to be on the right side of history and jump in now, jump in on the wave, because the technology that we see here with AI and chatbots, this is going to be eventually outdated and there are going to be newer technology on the rise. So now's the time I feel like, let's celebrate music. Let's celebrate experimentation by really making sure that we're bringing everybody together. Alfonso said it, stakeholders, supporting educators with ongoing, training, professional development. I think that's key. And I think there's going to be that opportunity to definitely bring our students in on board. But it really, again, starts from the top and making sure our team of educators feel that support so that we can spill this over to our students so that they can take risks and that they can feel comfortable and messy in the world of AI.
Beautifully put. Michelle.
I would just add a couple of thoughts really about just acknowledging that being a school administrator, a school leader is difficult. And every day leaders are faced with challenges that I categorize as either technical or adaptive. And I think first it's really important that we name that this work is an adaptive challenge. It's a wicked problem. We've never solved anything like this before. We've never been faced with this rapid technology advancement, as you spoke about, Sean. In less than a year, here we are having a panel discussion on how do we lead in this space. So just acknowledging that it's adaptive change, which is like the most complex and difficult type of change to lead. If it was a technical change, we could just give everybody access to ChatGPT and say, there you go, you've got your technical solution. Let's keep going on with the status quo and what we've always done. And I do fear at times that some people are approaching this adaptive challenge in a technical way where they're throwing tools or resources at the problem. And I think it really takes some time to have those conversations, understand their complexity. And as you talked about, Natasha, it's bringing people together to have those conversations. The reason people are resistant to change, I believe, is because they have beliefs and values that they need to surface and explore those beliefs and values and really kind of reconcile those, come to terms with those beliefs and values. And that takes conversation and discourse with one another. And I think all of this is for someone in a school trying to lead this adaptive change. My framework that I would give anyone to lean on would be really leveraging design thinking. It's been something that I've found really helpful to bring people together, to empathize, to begin to define what problem are we solving, what are some solutions we have, and having that groundswell of that bottom up, having parents and community members and industry leaders and teachers and students coming together to brainstorm, how do we move forward as a community? What do we need to do? And then start to prototype something. And I think I agree with you, Natasha, 100%. Prototyping is that quick ideation. Let's try something. We're going to fail. We're going to get it wrong. We're going to learn from it. We're going to do it different. That testing process is so essential to figuring out our way through this adaptive challenge and solving this problem. Because the thing with AI is, once I think I kind of got it figured out, like I know what I'm doing here. Then all of a sudden it kind of throws in my face a new change, a new layer, some complexity that I hadn't thought about. And so we've got to be on our toes, ready to continuously be adapting and ideating along the way. And if you have, Fons, you're nodding your head. Have you used design thinking before? Are you familiar with that? Has it been effective for you?
Yeah, actually, and I love what you said there. So I just wanted to add, I completely agree with you on the design thinking process. It's just being able to share that with teachers. And really, I think too, that you really hit on is also just the discourse. It is so important to have those conversations and allow teachers to see, yes, what is possible, how you can build. And the way that I always say on the show, take what you can learn and sprinkle it onto what you're already doing great. And that really helps out a lot, in having those conversations. But I honestly, the way that you put this, I couldn't have put it better myself. And I want to let you know that the message from yesterday in the AI panel is very similar to what you just shared, and the sentiment as far as what teachers are needing and what will help. And so thank you so much for just kind of reinforcing that, because that was something that did come up in the panel yesterday here in Texas.
Oh, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that people are talking about it from a adaptive lens versus a technical lens, because it would be really easy to kind of go down that technical road. We saw it happen when the iPad first came out, and it was all about how many apps can you get on the iPad, and what are we going to put kids in front of, because we really didn't know what we were working towards. And so defining really where we're going with this, and how do we build that digital literacy? How do we build those future ready skills for students? And how do we support people along the way? Because this is rapid change, and not everybody agrees with what's happening. And so giving some space to just have that conversation and lift up your beliefs and values will go a long way when it comes to tackling a wicked problem like this.
I do appreciate, Michelle, the lens of and adaptive change and technical change and leaders, and being one, currently a principal and working on year 16 as a principal, the level of juggling and spinning and all of the things, because you're if you're lucky, you'll have a team of leaders, and you've got collective efficacy going on in your building. That doesn't always happen. And so I love the fact that you frame the change through looking at it through an adaptive lens, but then also giving a very concrete tool and process, such as design thinking, as a place that a principal can not only anchor themselves in, but then also invite others into, as Fonz's words, discourse and the collective discourse. I think that's the beauty of design thinking, all fueled by empathy, which seems to be a little bit of a paradox, because we see AI as being, there's the science fiction and Skynet and all of those things, but yet there's very much a human frame in which we can all gather around and look at. So great responses. Again, for those folks that are tuning in, and if you've got learning and things to share and mention, I see a mutual friend, Maria, has joined and has just shared. So those that are attending, feel free to share thoughts in the chat, but then also using the hashtag adapt, lead, and connect as another way to share your learning, whether it's on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever, whatever platform that you have. All are invited to the conversation.
I'm glad to see Maria bringing up Saba as well, because I'm having a conversation with her this week. I want to get her on a future panel. So I'm so glad to see you bringing up some of her points. She's
Yes.
amazing.
She's
And
brilliant.
yeah, she's been on my podcast as well. And I want to find a nice home for her here in one of our panels, because I think that she would love this format as well. So kind of cool. We're all on the same wavelength once again.
Synchronicity.
Totally.
Belief.
So if I could jump in for a second, because I just got washed away in the wave of that brilliant, brilliant run of answers here. I'm taking
Brilliant.
notes crazy. So I can tweet afterwards. It's too hard for me to do it while we're going back and forth here in the middle of things. But I kind of wanted to turn the conversation a little bit towards how we're using AI and how it's affecting us, but not maybe exactly in the way that you're thinking. So we're really used to talking about and thinking about how using AI is affecting our students, how teachers are being encouraged to use it, which ways are they using it for their own lessons, for planning, for classroom management, whatever the case may be. It's very, very classroom centered, a lot of our conversation. So if we do turn the attention for a little bit on teachers and leaders, and maybe even decision making, is there a way that we can, or ways that we can point to AI kind of impacting the decision making process in education? And I'm bringing this up specifically because we're talking about leadership. And so are there examples out there right now of successful AI-driven decision-making in educational leadership? And how can leaders leverage AI initiatives to improve decision-making at many levels, administrative and classroom? So I kind of wanted to turn a little bit towards that, if we could. Fonz, do you want to start?
I just kind of want to understand. So as far as, okay, maybe I'm just misunderstanding the question, because maybe in my mindset I was already typing. Yeah, because I was talking as far as, the AI that's being used. And I don't know, as far as the leadership role, well, here's my take. Maybe I misunderstood the question, so I do apologize. But one of the things that is very important that is talked about here and was talked about, and what we should really consider is definitely how we're going to be using it, number one, and how effective it's going to be, like you talked about. One of the things too that I know I've been putting in the chat is we really need to be cautious advocates in rolling out and doing those initiatives and what you're doing, because as this can be that new and shiny tool or instrument and everybody wants to jump on and do these things, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is data safety and privacy. And oftentimes those are things that we don't consider. Now, as far as AI and algorithms being used, those are things that even many of our adaptive softwares within schools have been using, since the 2000s and so on, that adapt the learning for the student in many ways. The only thing now is that this is forward facing, and now educators and people have access to this to create and use and bring into the classroom. My thing is, and like I said, pardon me, but maybe this is just me riffing, and it's an important message that I do want to get across, is that as educators too, as great as this is going, we need to be very cautious because, and I'm going to quote Dr. Kip Glazier, who was on my podcast, and we may not see this, or maybe some of you may see it, but the tech chauvinism, in the sense of these tech app companies coming out and pretty much kind of saying, hey, we can do teaching better than you. Just put in your what you desire, and we're going to give that to you right away. And with the hopes of preying on the burnout and preying on, time, and we're going to save you time, and making themselves seem like they're really a solution when they're not. As a matter of fact, we need to be very cautious, because it's the data of it, and protecting our students and protecting our staff, and really just protecting ourselves from the privacy issues. And that's something that I really hold near and dear to my heart, because even the smallest things of students putting in data, teachers putting in data, even though it's something that's not identifiable, it's that metadata. Those companies, that's what they make the money out of. And so it's very important that we do that. So, I mean, as leaders, like I said, yes, you have to think about AI, and you have to think about it in those terms as well, but cautious advocates all the time, because once you sign that long-term contract with that app, what if they're not here in 2 years or even in 1 year? Because ChatGPT, they're really a wrapper for ChatGPT, and then there's an update, all of that data, what's happened to it, and that risk. So I know I might have gotten off tangent there with that aspect, but I think it's something that we really needed to talk about, and it's something that's very important there.
I think you addressed the question perfectly. I wanted to see what direction people might take that in, because I think it can be interpreted a little bit differently. And so let's see if Natasha, do you have anything to add or take it in another direction completely? And if you need me to repeat the question, that's totally fine.
As a teacher in the trenches and making it happen each and every day, I just feel like when it comes to improving decision making, I think that we can use AI to really analyze student performance. And I guess I'm talking about the data where you're looking at, or you're identifying trends and patterns. I'm talking about the data that's going to help me make or inform instructional strategies or my next move. I'm talking about really personalizing learning experience. So it's here, and how do we really use it? I mean, when I first started off using AI, it was ChatGPT. And I remember the administrator in our school, they were nervous. They said, hold up, don't use it with your students. We need you guys to take one step at a time and you try it out. And then I saw that I could use AI as a thinking partner. It freed up my time. It gave me the ability to do other things in place of all those other things that I was doing that was killing or robbing my time. It was my thinking partner right by my side. So if we're going to talk about data, privacy, equity issues, you can't ignore that, Because with, like Alfonso said, with choosing a platform comes all of those considerations that you have to think about. I think that's important. Right now, we're at a turn where you see, even on Instagram, there's chat box, AI driven for scheduling, communication, student support. And it's there. And I'm wowed every time I see it. But then you can become so overwhelmed about which direction do I go? What do I choose? What's going to be best for me? And I'm thinking as leaders, you do have to be careful. And you are putting your team first and students, more importantly, first. That decision has to be a right one. It has to include stakeholders. Everyone has to be on board, and there has to be 100% transparency.
Mic drop there.
Yeah.
Definite mic drop
Digesting.
there.
Michelle?
My thoughts would really kind of be positioned around asking what problem are you trying to solve. So with for a decision maker, any kind of purchase, what's behind that purchase at a classroom level, a school level, or a district level, whatever level the decision maker is. And so with that, if you're and really being focused on what might you be reinforcing, because I'm already starting to see several companies produce apps and solutions that really create the easy to use worksheet. You just type in these things and it's going to deliver an amazing worksheet, cut your time and efficiency down, or give us the standard and your learning objective and we'll write 10 multiple choice questions. So that kind of tool reinforces what we need to stop doing in education, not make it more efficient to do that type of teaching and learning and assessing. So for me as a decision maker, I'd be encouraging people to really think about what is the classroom experience that they want to have for students, and then making sure that the tool that they're selecting supports and reinforces what they are looking to build in their classroom. So whether it is building those human-centered skills that we talked about, having an experiential learning, inquiry-based focus of pedagogy of learning, buying a tool that produces worksheets really well, or just reinforces standardized assessment, isn't going to get you to that goal. So that's why I went back to saying it's really about what problem are you trying to solve? Are you trying to help your teachers to do more of student-centered personalized learning? Then make sure that the AI tool that you're looking at supports that type of pedagogy and doesn't reinforce something that doesn't meet the mission. I think there's a lot of things out there that teachers can use to bring down what I call the bureaucracy, the administrative tasks that they're doing. And I think that frees them up then to do more of what I as a classroom teacher went into teaching because I love students. I love being with students, building relationships, being responsive to their needs. And to me, that's the art of teaching. And I think we've kind of got overcome by the science of it all. And so if we can bring some of that down and increase the art, allow for more art of teaching to happen in our classrooms, then that's a great tool to be thinking of, because you're solving a problem of reducing bureaucracy, administrative tasks that teachers could spend more time being focused on students. So those some things I'm thinking about in relation to decision makers. And, coming from a company that is producing solutions for an AI world, that's what we talk about all the time is making sure our products and our solutions are really going to move education forward to how we envision it to be, not reinforce what's not working or kind of keep us stuck as a system. Because I think there's a lot, like I said in the beginning of this call, there's opportunity right now. And if we lead this adaptive change the way that I think all of these educational leaders can, we can really see a change in our education system. I really believe that. That's why I show up every day to do the work I do, because I see promise in a different student experience than what I had, what my kids had, what I think even today's students are having, releasing some of those accountability measures and really allowing students to have those learning experiences.
Yeah, I real quick, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add because you
Please.
two gave some wonderful answers. Now, Natasha talking about having, that thinking partner is something that is great because we need that as educators. We need, things that are going to help us be efficient and be more productive. So I do want to add to that the AI to help you even just, with emails and things of that sort, letters of recommendation, that can help you be more efficient on those things. There's so many tasks there that you can get back some time. But I love the fact that what Michelle was talking about, it's that art of teaching where we need to think of it as it's going to give me time back from doing those menial tasks, but where I can really focus on that pedagogy and not depend on this tool just to give me additional worksheets and be that teacher that's really just disseminating information rather than creating a learning experience for the students. So now, very important point that Michelle made too, that I wanted to kind of contribute to was that, bad pedagogy with tech can be very dangerous. So if you're using AI in a way that is just enhancing bad practice, because that's what I heard Michelle say. I second her. I times 10 or times infinity, because that's something that really scares me, because how easy and accessible this technology has been. But if we continue with that, with a bad practice, and we bring in the tech that makes that bad practice more efficient, what is that going to do for our students? So I just wanted to add that because you two gave really remarkable answers. So thank you.
I would say all of you have given very remarkable answers, and it's just been such a treat. I know we're closing in on the 1 hour mark, and I want to honor the grace of everyone's time and expertise here, because I could go for another 2 hours. But real quickly, what I just is maybe as just a quick wraparound, if you don't mind indulging, is we one of my favorite writers is in the is was one of our attendees, and she was also on our first panel, and a lesson I've learned from the great and inspiring Lauren Kaufman is in her writing, in her blog, she always has like, all right, what are you going to do next? Or here are 4 things that you can try to do or are encouraged to do. So when thinking about AI forward leadership, in your opinion, your beautiful points of view, what is a small step that a leader can take going forward that you would recommend or you would encourage? I know you've touched on it in various levels of your responses, but I would just love to indulge the group here. And Michelle, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Sean. That's a great question. I love love a good tangible takeaway is what we're producing here. Something that everyone can take and use tomorrow. I think for me, the number one thing that I think of with a school leader is to be using AI themselves. So rather than starting to try to figure out how do I bring this to my teachers? What does this mean for my students? If you aren't an avid user, meaning you're using it for those efficiencies, you're using it for the emails, you're trying to design your next staff meeting using AI, you're using it in your personal life to plan your grocery list, like experiencing it, you are going to learn by doing, and that is going to give you huge insights to this adaptive change and how you might begin to create those conversations that we've talked about and begin to bring it into your school community. So that's my advice. You be a user yourself before and before trying to lead change with others.
Wonderful. Thanks, Michelle. Fonz.
Yeah, for me, it kind of echoes with what we've been talking about, and it ties into what Michelle said. But to me, the most important part, and this may be just 2 points that I'm going to make. Number one, the discourse. I think that's been the biggest thing too that we've been talking about, and really having the open communication. And also, number two, also kind of creating that safe space where you are accepting people's feelings, because you can have two whole sides of this coin, which is like complete abject fear of all of this, and then you've got those teachers that are like, hey, this is the perfect utopian tool that's going to save my classroom or save my career or whatever it is that's going to happen. So that's why I think that discourse is so important, communication. But obviously you definitely need to be a user as well, but open it up to those conversations and include all stakeholders, everybody. I mean, oftentimes we use the word your learning community, but we always forget about the parents. We
Yeah,
wouldn't have a learning community if it wasn't for the parents that it trust us to educate their children, and so they are part of that community, and I think that that's very important. So I thought I would just kind of add that there, and I think it plays very well and complements what Michelle was saying also as well.
absolutely, and really good point about honoring not only feelings and creating that space for people to share, but then also honoring as a leader the other stakeholders, parents, caregivers, and including them in the discourse. I just love how you're bringing that word into our discourse. So thank you, Fonz. Tasha, last but certainly not least, what's a good first next step?
I have to echo Alfonso, his comments as well as Michelle. But I think leaders have to find those teachers who are in their building, and I'm hoping they know all their teachers. Find a cheerleading squad who are willing to take risk and work alongside them to help push AI out there one step at a time. I know within my district, I have a colleague, and there's a few of us, and we work very closely together. And we were able to present at a professional development, and those are small steps. And we had over 100 teachers come and join, listen. And they were inspired to go off and explore and take risks. So if you know your staff well, or at least if you're trying to get to know them well, tap into your teachers. They're the best resources. They're the ones that could really make or break what you're doing, especially when it comes to AI.
Absolutely. Wow, Sarah, this is
Flew
I,
by.
I'm energized. I'm ready to go AI forward. Just in part just due to the wonderful discourse, the inspiring discourse, and just spot on insights of our panel.
Yeah, and the support of everybody in the audience who's adding
Yeah.
their own comments and insights and feeding off of each other. I'm excited to take some of these things and tweet them out afterwards, and get other people involved in the conversation lives on, as Sean always reminds everybody at the end of this, which is why we have Adapt, Lead, Connect as our hashtag. So would anybody on the panel like to add any last comments or thoughts? And anyone in the chat, please leave your own last comments or thoughts that we will. All of this is included in the recording, so that will be shared probably tomorrow. It's very quick, so that so all of it is part of the larger conversation. Last words.
All right, real quick, last words. What
Yeah.
Natasha was saying, teacher champs, my fellow colleague that was with me in the AI panel, I'm going to share, because in her school district, what they did is they created a special team, and it was the teachers, and they were the ones that say, okay, what works, what doesn't, and it's really helped out her school district. So again, I just wanted to add that for leaders that are out there listening. And you heard Natasha state it is something that is being used, and Dr. McGee in her district is using it, and they continue to grow, and they're able to roll out initiatives, and again, being cautious advocates, but they are finding those teachers that are forward thinking and are willing to put in the work and take that risk for the benefit of others and roll out what is working. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Natasha, for sharing that again also, and really validating the conversations that we've been having here in Texas during our conference.
And I just have to say how, and I think I put this in the chat, how I'm so inspired by Alfonso, Michelle, I mean, by all of you, when you really listen to what you're saying. And again, I'm in the class, Michelle, you were in the class as well. You feel so supported when you have those out there who are connecting with the education world and trying to help us out, each step of the way. Everything you said on this panel, not only am I inspired by, but I want to utilize it even more so. So I want to thank you both for just, Sean said I dropped the mic. I'm sitting here clapping and just thank you. So I wanted to say that.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks everyone for the conversation. It's so, I was reflecting on how great it is, this group you brought together from different perspectives to really make a rich dialogue this evening. So thank you to Sarah and Sean for I can tell you were intentional in who you put together in the room to really be able to build on one another's ideas, but also, like you said, Natasha, walk away with a new idea ourselves. It really wasn't an echo chamber where we all were saying the same things. So thank you for that.
that's the plan. The hope is that more people can see that. So thanks, Michelle, for noticing that too, as well. Thank you for everyone in the audience as well. And next Tuesday, just confirmed, hasn't even been announced yet. It should be announced later today, but next Tuesday at the same time will be our 4th panel. I do not even know the topic yet, but it will have to do with perfectionism, overcoming perfectionism as a leader, in terms of embracing adaptability and change, and how to pass that ability to do so on to your teachers. So we will be featuring Megan Lawson, Tara Martin, and Lainey Rowell next week at the same time. So once
Another
again,
power trio.
yeah, power trio. I'm pretty pumped to get that word out there. I think that registration should be open tomorrow morning. So look out for that everywhere where you found it this time, however you came to us this time. And if anyone wants to drop their Twitter handles in the chat before we leave, so we can all follow each other. If you
Please.
are a Twitter/X user, that is where we do a lot of our work. I did notice the last couple panels, people who weren't so active there did share their LinkedIn info. You can do that as well. But Sean and I share so many insights and promos and different information about these panels and about the people who are involved in them on both of those platforms. So it'd be great to have everybody connected in some way. And I'm spelling my own name wrong as I try to type my own. So.
Okay, Sarah. I mean, again, it's a good exhaustion from all of the great insight here and this power trio. Fonz, Michelle, Tasha, thank you so much. For those of you that are attending, don't let the conversation end here. You got to write back. So as Sarah mentioned, let's connect with each other, DM each other. Let's engage in discourse and conversation, whether it's using Adapt Lead Connect as the hashtag, or following all our respective modes of expression and sharing. I mean, part of adaptability is having those thought partners and having those bandmates to jam together and to spring and build ideas. So we definitely don't want this to be a one and done. The discourse must continue in service of our schools, our children, our teachers, our communities, but most importantly for each other.
And I'll end with one last thing. If there is anybody out there, I know some people have dropped off by now, but if you do have an idea, if this has inspired you, the idea of talking about change openly and consistently, if you have an idea for a topic for a future panel, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you want to be involved in a future panel, don't or want to recommend somebody, all of that. That's how we're getting such a great mix of people every time you pop into one of these. So it's the connections to each other that are really fueling all of these conversations. So please tell me your ideas. Tell me who of your friends and colleagues you think should be in one of these, or if it's you, volunteer yourself. And otherwise, I think we're done. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.